Before you apply or accept a job offer, you're thinking, is this going to be a good place to work? Is this going to be a toxic work environment? The unknown could keep you from applying. Well, today we're going to discuss the best and worst places to work when it comes to a government job. This is all coming from a list on bestplacestowork.org's website with the help of Boston Consulting Group. The way that this works is OMB pushes out this survey to all federal agencies. They encourage the employees to respond. They want to know, how is leadership? How is pay? Are you being engaged? Questions like that. The scores are then put together and the federal agencies are ranked. Okay, starting with the large agencies, we can see the top 3 agencies are number 1, NASA, number 2, Health and Human Services, number 3, the intelligence community. NASA actually took a small step back, but it still firmly holds on to that number 1 position. The main reason why is the effective leadership within NASA. What ranks lower, but still pretty high for NASA, is the pay and the recognition. About 20% or more of the people I talk to every month, they express a desire to work in NASA. And it's either because they've had a dream since they were a kid to work in that organization, to be a part of a space mission. The mission speaks to them. Or they just heard good things about people that currently work in that agency. It's a great agency to work in, and you can certainly try to work there, as there are over 50 open jobs in NASA currently on USAJobs.gov. In the midsize agencies, the top 3 agencies are number 1, the Government Accountability Office, GAO, number 2, the General Service Administration, GSA, number 3, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. The biggest change from last year is the GSA and the SEC, they switched places. Now, the GAO, they're still number 1. They've been number 1 for about 40 years now. One of the highest ranked areas is DEI, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. GAO is a congressional watchdog, and they typically audit and they review other agencies. Same thing with OIG. So when it comes to investigating or auditing agencies, you have GAO and you have OIG. OIG is the Office of Inspector General, and they typically do inspections within the agency. The GAO, they report back to Congress. Usually OIG, they keep it more at an agency level. And when it comes to these reports, you can look at these reports. You can go to gao.gov and it shows you every report that they publish. A lot of their reports I use as content because there's a lot of good information out there if you're a current employee or if you're looking to get into the government. GAO employees are usually in the accepted service. Now this can turn some people off because in the federal government you have 2 main services. You have the competitive service, you have the accepted service. Now there's also the senior executive service, but that's a lot smaller, so we're not talking about that right now. With the competitive service, if you serve 3 years, do 3 years in a government job, you become a competitive status candidate, meaning you can re-enter the government if you decide to leave at some point. In the accepted service, you're not allowed to do that unless you have an interagency agreement. So it could make it harder to find future opportunities if you're in an accepted service type position. So this is one of the downsides to trying to get into the GAO. The pay band is also different. Usually in the government, you see GS pay band. Here you're going to be looking at PE, PA, AC, but it looks like for the most part it's capped at $191,000 a year. That would be the equivalent of a GS-15 in the DC area. In the small agencies, the top 3 agencies are number 1, the National Indian Gaming Commission, number 2, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and number 3, the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation. This is a pretty big change from last year. What's boosting the Gaming Commission is effective leadership, pay, and work-life balance. But it's a pretty tiny agency. There's only 100 people that work there. I went on USAJobs.gov to see if they have any jobs open. I could only find 1. And it's for a government information specialist in the 0306 job series. Okay, now let's identify the worst federal agencies that you can work in according to this ranking list. First, let's look at larger federal agencies. Ranked at the bottom is once again the Social Security Administration, the SSA. And they fell lower from 53 points to 52 points. The main reason why? Recognition, employee input, and pay. It looks like their highest category is DEI. We talked about SSA, we talked about the stress, the burnout, the turnover, and it's still happening. It's hard to get employees in there. Once they're in, hard to retain them. People stay 1 year, 2 years, just long enough so they can pivot and go ahead and apply to a different agency and get out of the SSA. Even though they're currently on a hiring spree, they're trying to hire more and more people, they have the budget for it. Still, a lot of people, they just don't want to work there. Currently, there are over 200 open jobs on USAJobs.gov for the SSA. Next, let's look at the mid-size agencies. Ranked at the bottom of the list is the Court Service and Offender Supervision Agency, ranked at number 26 with a score of 57 out of 100. What's the lowest here? Effective senior leadership. Also, employee input and recognition. If you were looking to work in an agency like this for some reason, there's only 9 open positions on USAJobs.gov. Okay, now let's look at the smaller agencies. Ranked at the bottom of this list is the Export-Import Bank of the United States at number 30 with a score of 40 out of 100. This agency was the worst small agency last year, but my goodness, it has fallen an additional 15 points. So I don't know what's going on here. I feel like maybe I should do a dedicated video solely on this agency to figure out what's happening. Some of the lower categories we can tell here is employee input and pay. They're also on the smaller side. There's about 300 employees that currently work there. And there's 14 open jobs in this agency on USAJobs.gov. You might have wondered what happened to the Federal Bureau of Prisons. That's a pretty low-ranking agency, right? Well, the thing is, it's an agency subcomponent, so it didn't show up on the large, medium, and small. It's in its own category. But if you go there and you scroll all the way down, you will see it's still at the bottom. But it improved. Instead of 35 points, it has increased to 38 out of 100. Now, of course, you have to take these rankings with a grain of salt. Your experience is going to be completely different than someone else's experience, largely because where you go, it's going to depend on who your supervisor is. That is going to have the greatest impact on your work-life balance and how you view the organization. Are you going to have a micromanager? Are you going to have a more considerate type of supervisor? So that's huge. And also, not just the supervisor, but the office. What office are you working in? Different offices have different cultures. So if you have a job offer from, let's say, SSA, don't roll your eyes and decline it. Go ahead and accept it. Maybe your experience will be different. The way that I think your job search should be structured is you really shouldn't be thinking about any of the agencies. You should be federal agency agnostic, where you are just looking for the best opportunity for you. So instead of using the filter to sort by agencies, leave all of that blank. Instead, look at the job series, look at the GS grade or the salary range. Should you be a GS14 right now? Put GS14, GS15, look for 0560s or whatever your job series that you're targeting. If you don't know what job series you're targeting, that's a huge red flag. You need to get on OPM Job Series Handbook, search that, look through there, and you're going to be eligible for 2 or 3 different job series. Every resume that you have should be targeted to one of those job series. That's the beginning of your job search. So when you're searching, when you're looking, reviewing, applying, do not get too hyper-focused on one specific agency. Once you're a federal government employee, like I was talking about in the competitive service, there's room to move around. You can jump to different agencies. All right, so if you are interested in getting a federal government job, but you want to work from home, that's the only way you can see it happening for you. 100% remote. The thing with those jobs is they're a lot more competitive. They're harder to get because you and everyone else around you, they're all applying. Everyone's applying. It's harder to stand out. If you want some key information that might help you attain a 100% remote work job, if you're interested in that, I want you to watch this video next. Oh, one quick thing. I'm doing a live stream this coming Sunday. This Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can join, ask me whatever questions you have on your mind. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.